While Hana flew toward the Kira Nebula, something else was happening back on orbital station Horizon. Something that would change everything. NAR. I was a young woman with gentle hands and dreaming eyes. She was not a soldier or a scientist. She was an artist, one of several civilians who lived on the station. Her job was to paint murals on the walls and create beauty in the cold metal corridors. She believed that humans needed art to survive, especially in the darkness of space. That afternoon, she was working on a new painting in the station's garden room. It was a picture of a sunset on Earth, with the sky painted in 100 shades of red and orange and gold. She had been working on it for weeks, trying to get the colors just right. The Velith found her there. Three of them walked into the garden room, their orange eyes scanning the plants and flowers with confusion. They did not understand why humans kept living things in a metal box in space. But they were curious, and they had nothing else to do while waiting for news from the nebula. One of them, the female named Dira, spotted Nari and walked over. "What are you doing, human?" Nari looked up from her painting. "I am making art," she said. "A picture." Dira tilted her head, studying the canvas. Her orange eyes glowed as she looked at it. "I see. Shapes," she said slowly. "A circle at the bottom. Lines going upward. But what is the meaning?" "It is a sunset," Nari explained. "When our star goes down below the horizon on our planet, the sky changes. It becomes beautiful." "Changes how?" Dira asked. Nari smiled and pointed at the canvas. "The sky turns red here, at the edge. Then it becomes orange, then gold. Up higher, you can see purple and pink. And the clouds catch the light and turn all sorts of colors." Dira stared at the painting for a long time. The other two Velith came closer, also staring. Their expressions were strange. Not confused. Not interested. Just blank. "I do not understand," Dira finally said. "You say the sky changes, but I see only different shades of gray. Some lighter, some darker. What are these words you use? Red? Orange? Gold?" Nari's smile faded. "Those are colors," she said. "You know, colors. Red is like fire. Orange is like a ripe fruit. Gold is like—" She stopped, seeing that the Velith were not understanding at all. "We do not have these words in our language," Dira said. "We have heat bright and cold dim and many words for different temperatures. But these terms you use, they mean nothing to us." Nari stared at her. A strange thought was forming in her mind. "Dira," she said slowly, "what colors do you see when you look at the world?" Dira made a gesture that might have been a shrug. "We see heat, as you know. Warm things glow. Cold things are dark. Everything has a temperature, and we see that temperature. But what about the color of things? The color of the sky? The color of plants? The color of my hair?" Nari touched her own dark hair. Dira looked at Nari's hair for a moment. "Your hair is cold," she said. "Slightly warmer at the roots where it meets your scalp. There's blood flow there. But what color is it?" "Color?" Dira shook her head. "I do not understand the question. It is cold. It is dark. That is what I see." Nari felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. She grabbed her paint tubes, the ones she used for her sunset. She held them up in front of Dira's face. "This one is red," she said. "This one is yellow. This one is blue. Are they all the same to you?" Dira looked at the tubes. Her orange eyes flickered. "They are all the same temperature. Room temperature. So yes, they look the same." "Oh," Nari said softly. "Oh my." She ran to find Dr. Wu. The old scientist was in the communication center, monitoring Hannah's flight into the nebula. He looked tired but focused. When Nari burst in, talking fast and waving her paint tubes, he held up a hand to calm her. "Slow down," he said. "What has happened?" "The Velith cannot see color," Nari said, her voice shaking. "Any color? At all?" I showed them my sunset painting, and they had no idea what I was talking about. They only see heat. Everything else is gray to them. Dr. Wu nodded slowly. "Yes, I suspected as much. You knew?" I had guessed. The old scientist leaned back in his chair. "The Velith have only one type of photoreceptor in their eyes. It is very sensitive to infrared radiation. That is how they see heat. But it means they cannot see visible light the way we do. They cannot see red or blue or green. They cannot see any of the colors that make up our world." Nari sat down heavily. "They think we are blind," she said. "They mock us for not seeing infrared. But they are the ones who are really missing something. They do not know what they are missing," Dr. Wu said gently. "How could they? They have never seen color. They do not even have words for it. To them, their gray world is normal. Our colorful world is impossible to imagine." "We have to tell them," Nari said. "Do we?" Dr. Wu raised an eyebrow. "They came here thinking they were superior. They looked at us like we were insects. Perhaps it is better to let them discover the truth in their own time." "But it is not fair," Nari protested. "They should know. They should understand that humans are not inferior just because we see different things." Dr. Wu smiled. "Hannah is flying through the nebula right now. If my calculations are correct, she will teach the Velith that lesson very soon." Back on the station, the Velith delegation was becoming restless. They gathered in the observation lounge, watching the distant darkness of the Kira Nebula on the large screen. Their ship had entered the nebula first, flying quickly and confidently. The human ship had followed, smaller and slower. Ambassador Roken stood at the center of the room, his arms crossed over his chest. "My pilot reports that he's already halfway through," he announced. "The human ship is falling behind. Their sensors are struggling with the darkness." Commander Tay stood in the corner, watching silently. He trusted Hana, but he was worried. The nebula was dangerous. Even with Dr. Wu's color map, she was taking a terrible risk. Dira walked up to Roken. She seemed troubled. "Ambassador," she said quietly, "I have learned something strange about the humans." "What is it?" "Their artist showed me a painting. She used words I did not understand. Red, orange, gold. She said they were colors." Dira paused. I think humans see something we cannot." Roken laughed. "Impossible. We see everything. Our eyes are far superior to their weak human organs." But she showed me tubes of paint. She said they were all different colors. To me, they looked the same. Roken waved his hand dismissively. She was confused. Or lying. Humans often lie to make themselves feel better about their limitations. Dira did not look convinced, but she said nothing more. On the screen, the two dots representing the ships moved deeper into the nebula. The Velith ship was ahead, but not by much. And something strange was happening. The human ship was not struggling as much as Roken had expected. It moved with purpose, making turns at exactly the right moments, avoiding obstacles before they appeared on sensors. "How is she doing that?" one of the Velith murmured. Roken's smile faded. He stepped closer to the screen, his orange eyes narrowing. "There must be a mistake. Check the data." "The data is correct, Ambassador. The human ship is navigating by something we cannot detect." Commander Tay allowed himself a small smile. Whatever Hana was doing, it was working. In the nebula, Hana flew her ship through the darkness. Around her, dust clouds blocked out almost all light. Her instruments were half blind, giving her only fragments of information. But she did not need instruments. She looked out through her cockpit window at the few stars visible through gaps in the dust. There, a red giant, glowing like an ember. There, a blue-white cluster, bright and cold. There, the yellow binary pair, two golden dots circling each other. She knew exactly where she was. She knew exactly where to go, and she was catching up to the Velith ship. The Velith pilot was named Korak. He was one of the best flyers in the Empire, a veteran of 100 missions through dangerous space. His infrared vision had never failed him. He could see the heat of distant engines, the warmth of hidden asteroids, the glow of radiation pockets that would kill a ship in seconds. He was confident. He was skilled. And he was starting to feel something he had never felt before. Fear. The Kira Nebula was darker than he had expected. The dust clouds were thick, blocking out the heat of the stars. Without starlight to warm the rocks and debris, everything was cold. Cold meant invisible. Cold meant dangerous. Korak slowed his ship, his eyes scanning the darkness ahead. He could see nothing. Just cold. Just gray. Somewhere behind him, the human ship was still flying. He could see its engine heat, a small bright dot in the distance. It should have been far behind by now. It should have been lost in the darkness. But it was not lost. It was keeping pace. Impossible, Korak muttered to himself. He pushed his ship forward, but carefully now. He had to feel his way through, searching for any sign of warmth that might guide him. A heat source could be a star seen through a gap in the dust. Or it could be a volcanic asteroid about to tear through his hull. He could not tell the difference until he got close. The human ship had no such problems. Lieutenant Hana flew with confidence, her eyes fixed on the stars. To her, each star was a beacon, bright and colorful and clear. The red giant told her she was still on course. The blue cluster said the exit was getting closer. The yellow binaries marked the safest path through the debris field ahead. She did not need to guess. She did not need to feel her way through the darkness. She could see back on orbital station horizon. The tension in the observation lounge had grown thick enough to cut with a knife. The two dots on the screen were now side by side. The Velith ship was no longer ahead. Ambassador Roken stood frozen, his orange eyes fixed on the screen. This was not supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to fail. They were supposed to prove that their species was weak and blind and inferior. Instead, they were matching the Velith stroke for stroke. "This is a trick," Roken said, his voice hard. "The humans are cheating somehow." Dr. Wu stepped forward. The old scientist had been quiet until now, watching and waiting. But he could not stay silent any longer. "It is not a trick, Ambassador," he said. "And we are not cheating. We are simply using what nature gave us." Roken turned to face him. "What are you talking about, old man?" Dr. Wu smiled gently. He pulled out a small device and projected an image onto the wall. It was the color map of the Kira Nebula, the same one he had shown Hana. Stars of every color filled the screen, red and orange and yellow and blue. "This is what Lieutenant Hana sees," Dr. Wu said. "Every star has a color. Every color tells her something. Red stars are cool and old. Blue stars are hot and young. Yellow stars are stable and reliable. She's using these colors to navigate through the nebula." Roken stared at the image. To his eyes, it was just gray dots. Some brighter, some dimmer, but all the same color. No, not the same color. There was no color at all. "I do not understand," he said slowly. "I know you do not," Dr. Wu replied. "And that is the point. You cannot understand because you cannot see what we see." He walked closer to the Velith ambassador, looking up at those glowing orange eyes. "You have mocked us for not seeing infrared. You have called us blind and weak and inferior. But Ambassador, have you ever stopped to wonder what you cannot see?" "We see everything that matters," Roken said. but his voice was uncertain now. Do you? Dr. Wu pointed at the color map again. Human eyes have 3 types of receptors. 3 different ways of seeing light. These receptors work together to create something called color vision. We can see red and green and blue and every mixture in between. We can see 10 million different colors, Ambassador. 10 million. Roken was silent. Your eyes have 1 type of receptor, Dr. Wu continued. Just 1. It is very good at seeing infrared light, that is true. But everything else? Everything that is not infrared? It all looks the same to you. Gray. Just gray. Dira stepped forward, her own eyes wide. The painting, she said. The sunset. The human artist tried to show me, but I could not see it. No, you could not, Dr. Wu agreed. You never could. You never will. Your species has lived in a gray world for millions of years, and you never knew that anything else existed. You thought you were superior because you could see heat, but you missed the most beautiful thing in the universe. You missed color. The room was completely silent. The Veloth stood frozen, staring at the color map on the wall. They were seeing it for the first time, seeing what they could not see, and it terrified them. Roken turned back to the screen showing the nebula. The 2 dots were still moving, still racing toward the exit. But the human ship was pulling ahead now. It was faster, sure, more confident. The Veloth ship was slowing down, hesitating, lost. How? Roken whispered. How is this possible? The stars are different colors, Dr. Wu explained. To you, they all look the same. But to Hana, each one is unique. She knows exactly where she is because she can see landmarks that you cannot even imagine. She is not blind, Ambassador. She sees more than you ever will. Roken's hands curled into fists. His whole body trembled. Everything he believed about his species, about human inferiority, was crumbling away. We are the superior species, he said. But it sounded like a question now. You are a different species, Dr. Wu said gently. Different, not superior. We each have strengths. We each have weaknesses. You can see heat. We can see color. Neither is better. They are just different. On the screen, the human ship crossed an invisible line. Alarms chimed softly. A message appeared. Human vessel has exited Kira Nebula. Time, 3 hours, 47 minutes. Hana had 1. Commander Tay let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. Around him, the human crew members were smiling, some of them laughing quietly. They had done it. They had beaten the Veloth at their own challenge. The Veloth ship crossed the line a few minutes later. Karak's voice came over the communication channel. He sounded shaken. I did not understand, he said. I could not see the path. Everything was gray. Everything was cold. How did the human find her way? Hana's voice replied, calm and steady. I followed the colors, Karak. I followed the red and the blue and the yellow. They were there the whole time. You just could not see them. Roken sank into a chair. For the first time since arriving at the station, he did not look proud or arrogant. He looked confused, lost, like a child who had just learned that the world was bigger than he thought. Dira walked over to him. Ambassador, she said quietly, perhaps we should reconsider our opinion of the humans. Roken said nothing. He just stared at the color map on the wall, seeing gray where humans saw rainbows. Dr. Wu walked over and stood beside him. There is an old human saying, Ambassador. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy. It means that no matter how much we know, there is always more to learn, always more to see. We thought you were blind, Roken said softly. We know, Dr. Wu replied. But we were never blind. We were just seeing different things. The hours after the race were quiet. The Velith delegation stayed in their quarters, and no one saw them until the next morning. When they finally came out, something had changed. They walked differently. They looked at the humans differently. The pride and the mockery were gone. From their orange eyes, Ambassador Roken requested a private meeting with Commander Tay and Lieutenant Hana. They met in a small conference room with windows showing the stars. Roken stood at those windows for a long time before speaking. "I have been thinking," he said finally. "All night, I have been thinking about what your scientists told us, about colors, about the things we cannot see." Hannah waited patiently. She could tell that Roken was struggling with something deep inside himself. "In my culture, we have a story," Roken continued. "A legend about the first Velith who could see heat. Before him, our ancestors were blind. They stumbled through the darkness of our world, afraid and weak. Then one day, a child was born with glowing eyes. He could see the warmth of living things. He could find food in the darkness. He could avoid dangers that killed others. He became a hero. He became a legend. And from that day on, the Velith believed that seeing heat was the greatest gift in the universe." He turned to face Hana. His orange eyes were dim now, not glowing as brightly as before. "We never wondered if there was more. We never imagined that other species might see things we could not. We simply assumed that we were the best and everyone else was less." He paused. "We were wrong." Commander Tay spoke carefully. "Ambassador, we do not think of this as a competition. Different species have different abilities. That does not make anyone inferior, does it not?" Roken asked. "We came here ready to treat you like primitives. We were going to offer you bad trade terms because we thought you were too blind to do better. We were going to take advantage of you because we believed you were weak." He shook his head slowly. "If Lieutenant Hana had not won that race, we would have done exactly that. And we would have felt justified doing it." Hannah stepped forward. "The race does not matter, Ambassador. What matters is what we do next." Roken looked at her. "What do you mean?" "We could use our victory to demand better terms. We could embarrass your empire by telling everyone that humans beat the Velith at navigation. We could make you pay for all the insults and the mockery." Hannah paused. "But that would make us no better than you were planning to be." Roken was silent, waiting. "Instead," Hannah said, "we want to offer you something. A partnership. Real partnership. We will share our knowledge of color vision with your scientists. We will help you develop technology that can show you what we see. And in return, you will share your infrared technology with us." Roken's eyes widened. "You would do this? After how we treated you?" "We are not doing it for you," Hana said honestly. "We are doing it for both our species. The universe is a big place, Ambassador. There are dangers out there that neither of us can face alone. If we work together, combining your heat vision with our color vision, we will be able to see more than any species has ever seen before." For the first time, a real smile crossed Roken's face. It was small and uncertain, but it was genuine. "You are a surprising species, Lieutenant Hana." "Thank you, Ambassador. We try." Over the following weeks, the Velith delegation stayed on the station. But they were different now. They asked questions instead of giving orders. They listened instead of talking. They learned Nari, the artist, became their unofficial teacher. She spent hours showing them her paintings, trying to explain colors in ways they could understand. "Red is like the heat of a fire," she told Dira one day. "But it is not heat. It is like a feeling. When you see red, you feel energy, excitement, danger sometimes." Dira stared at a painting of a rose. To her, it was gray. But she was starting to understand that it was not gray to humans. It was something more. "I wish I could see it," she said softly. Maybe one day you will, Nari replied. Dr. Wu is working on a device that might translate colors into something your eyes can understand. It will not be the same as really seeing them, but it might give you an idea. Why are you helping us? Dira asked. We were rude to you. We mocked you. We called you blind and weak. Nari smiled. Because everyone deserves to see beauty, even people who have been rude. Dira made a sound that might have been a laugh. Humans are very strange. Yes, Nari agreed. We are. A month later, Ambassador Roken prepared to leave the station. His ship was loaded with new technology. Sensors that could detect colors. Computers that could translate color data into infrared patterns. Teaching materials about human art and culture. In return, the humans had received Velith infrared technology and access to their star maps. But the most important thing they exchanged was not technology. It was understanding Dot before boarding his shuttle. Roken stopped in front of Lieutenant Hana. They stood at the same observation window, where they had first seen the stars together. Weeks ago. I will never forget this place, Roken said. Or you. Neither will I, Ambassador. When I return to my world, I will have to explain what happened here. I will have to tell my people that we were wrong about humans. That you are not blind. That you see things we cannot even imagine. He paused. Some of them will not believe me. Some humans will not believe our story either, Hana said. They will think we are lying about the Velith. They will say that no species could be so arrogant, so convinced of their own superiority. Roken laughed. And yet it is true. We were that arrogant. We were that wrong. The important thing is that you learned, Hana said. We all learned. Roken looked out at the stars. To his eyes, they were points of gray light, some brighter than others. But now he knew that to humans, they were a rainbow. Each one a different color. Each one beautiful in its own way. Tell me, he said quietly. What color are those stars right there? That cluster near the nebula? Hana looked. She smiled. The bright one is blue. It is a young star, very hot, very energetic. The smaller ones around it are white and yellow. And there, at the edge, there is a red one. It is old, Ambassador. It has been burning for billions of years. It has seen civilizations rise and fall. It has watched species come and go. And it is beautiful. Roken was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was soft. I believe you, Lieutenant. I cannot see it, but I believe you. And I think that is the first step. Hana nodded. It is. The Velith delegation left the next day. Their ship flew out into the darkness of space, carrying new technology and new ideas back to their empire. And watching them go, Hana thought about everything that had happened. They had come expecting to find a blind species, stumbling through the dark. They had found something else entirely. They had found partners. They had found teachers. They had found friends. And somewhere in the vast gray universe the Velith knew, there was now a tiny seed of color. A small understanding that there was more to see than heat, more to know than temperature, more to feel than warmth and cold. It was a beginning. Dr. Wu found Hana at the window long after the Velith ship had vanished. What are you thinking? He asked. Hana smiled. I am thinking about what Roken said, that we see 10 million colors, and they see just gray. Does that make you feel superior? No, Hana said. It makes me feel lucky, and grateful, and a little sad for them. She paused. But mostly, it makes me feel hopeful. Hopeful? Hana pointed at the stars. Red giants and blue dwarfs and yellow suns, scattered across the infinite darkness like jewels on black velvet. If we can teach them to see color, she said, maybe they can teach us to see something we are missing too. Something wonderful that we never knew existed. Something beautiful that is waiting just beyond what our eyes can see. Dr. Wu smiled. That is a very human thing to hope for. Yes, Hannah agreed. It is. And together, they stood at the window and watched the colorful stars shine in the endless night. The Vela ship came out of faster-than-light travel like a ghost appearing from nothing. It was a massive vessel, dark gray and shaped like a long knife. The humans on the orbital station watched it approach through their viewing windows. This was the first official meeting between Earth and the Velith Empire, and everyone was nervous that Lieutenant Hannah stood at the front of the welcoming group. She was a young woman with short black hair and calm eyes. Behind her stood Commander Tay, a tall man with broad shoulders and a serious face. They had practiced this moment many times. They knew what to say, how to stand, and how to smile. But nothing could have prepared them for what came next. The Velith shuttle docked with a soft thump. The airlock doors opened with a hiss. And then the aliens walked in. They were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin was pale blue, almost white, and it seemed to shimmer slightly under the station lights. Their heads were long and narrow, with no hair at all. But the most striking thing about them was their eyes. The Velith had large, round eyes that glowed with a faint orange light. Those eyes moved constantly, scanning everything and everyone in the room. Ambassador Roken was the first to step forward. He wore long robes of silver fabric, and he carried himself like someone who believed he was very important. His orange eyes fixed on Hannah, and he tilted his head to the side like a curious bird. So, Roken said, his voice deep and cold, "These are the humans." Hannah bowed her head slightly. "Welcome to Orbital Station Horizon, Ambassador. We are honored to receive the Velith delegation." Roken did not bow back. Instead, he walked past her, his eyes still glowing as they swept across the room. The other Velith followed him, 6 of them in total, all wearing the same silver robes. They looked at the humans the way someone might look at insects. "Your station is warm," Roken said. He said the word warm like it was an insult. "We can see the heat coming from your bodies. It is unpleasant." Commander Tay stepped forward. "We can adjust the temperature if you need us to, Ambassador." Roken waved his hand dismissively. "No, it does not matter. We will not be here long." He turned to look at Hannah again, and this time there was something like amusement in his glowing eyes. "Tell me, human, is it true that your species cannot see infrared light?" Hannah hesitated. She had read the reports about the Velith. She knew they could see heat the way humans could see colors. But she had not expected this question so soon. "That is correct, Ambassador. Humans see a different range of light." Roken made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was dry and harsh. "How do you survive? How do you hunt? How do you even find your way in the dark?" "We use technology," Hannah said carefully. "We have tools that help us see what our eyes cannot." "Tools," Roken repeated. He looked at the other Velith, and they all made the same dry laughing sound. "So you admit it. You are blind. You walk through the universe with half-closed eyes, stumbling in the dark, relying on machines to do what any proper species can do naturally." Hannah felt her face grow hot, but she kept her expression calm. "We have found ways to adapt, Ambassador. Adapt." Roken said the word slowly, tasting it like something bitter. "Yes, I suppose you would have to. It must be difficult, being so limited." Commander Tay's hands curled into fists at his sides, but he said nothing. This was diplomacy. They had to be patient. They had to be calm. Even when the aliens were being rude, the Velith delegation spent the next few hours touring the station. At every step, Roken found something to criticize. The lights were too bright. The corridors were too narrow. The food in the cafeteria smelled wrong. But most of all, he kept coming back to human vision. "Look at this," he said, stopping in front of a large window that showed the stars outside. "What do you see out there?" Hannah looked. She saw stars, thousands of them, scattered across the black sky like diamonds on velvet. She saw the distant swirl of a nebula, painted in shades of purple and pink. She saw the curve of Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. "I see stars," she said. "I see a nebula. I see our home planet." Roken shook his head slowly. "You see almost nothing. I see the heat of those stars. I see which ones are dying and which ones are being born. I see the cold spots where planets hide. I see the trails of ships that passed through here hours ago, their engine heat still hanging in the void." He turned to face her, his orange eyes burning bright. "You look at the universe through a tiny keyhole, human. We see the whole door." The other Veleth nodded in agreement. One of them, a female with particularly large eyes, spoke up. "It is strange that you have survived at all. On our world, a species without infrared vision would have died out long ago. Predators would have found them in the night. They would have frozen to death, unable to find warm shelter." "We are not on your world," Commander Tay said quietly. The female Veleth looked at him with something like pity. "No, you are not. And perhaps that is why you still exist. Your planet must be very safe." That night, after the Veleth had retired to their guest quarters, Hannah stood alone at the observation window. She was tired, but she could not sleep. The alien's words kept playing in her head. Blind, limited, stumbling in the dark. She looked out at the stars again. They were beautiful to her. They had always been beautiful. But now she wondered if she was missing something. Were the Veleth right? Was human vision really so weak? A soft footstep made her turn. It was Dr. Wu, the station's chief scientist. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He carried 2 cups of tea. Could not sleep either? He asked, handing her one of the cups. Hannah shook her head. "They think we are inferior. They think our eyes make us less than them." Dr. Wu sipped his tea and smiled. It was a small, mysterious smile. Let them think that. But what if they are right? The old scientist looked out at the stars. The nebula glowed purple in the distance. "Hannah," he said softly, "the Veleth see heat." "That is true. But do you know what they cannot see?" "What?" Dr. Wu pointed at the nebula. "That color. That beautiful purple. They cannot see it. To them, it is just gray." Hannah frowned. "What do you mean?" "The Veleth have one type of receptor in their eyes. Just one. It sees infrared. Yes, but it sees everything else in shades of gray. No red, no blue, no green, no yellow." He turned to look at her, and his eyes were bright with something that might have been excitement. "Humans have 3 types of receptors. We can see colors the Veleth cannot even imagine. Millions of them." Hannah stared at him. "Millions?" 10 million different colors, Dr. Wu said. "Give or take. The Veleth mock us for being blind, but they are the ones living in a gray world. They just do not know it yet." For the first time since the Veleth arrived, Hannah smiled. The next morning, the Veleth delegation gathered in the station's main conference room. Ambassador Roken sat at the head of the table, his silver robe spread out around him like wings. His orange eyes glowed brighter than before. He seemed pleased with himself, like a hunter who had cornered his prey. Hannah and Commander Tay sat across from him, with Dr. Wu and several other human officers nearby. The room was quiet. Everyone could feel that something important was about to happen. "We have discussed the matter among ourselves," Roken said, his voice filling the room. "The Veleth Empire is prepared to offer a trade agreement with Earth. We have resources you need. You have Well, we are sure you have something useful. The insult was clear, but Hana ignored it. We are grateful for the opportunity, Ambassador. What terms do you propose? Roken leaned back in his chair. Before we discuss terms, we must discuss capability. The Velith do not make agreements with species that cannot prove themselves. We need to know that humans are worth our time. Commander Tay's jaw tightened. What kind of proof do you want? A test, Roken said simply. A challenge. Something to show us what humans can do. His orange eyes swept across the human faces, looking for fear. In 2 days, we will fly through the Kira Nebula. It is a dark region of space, full of dust and debris. No light reaches its center. To navigate it, you must rely on other senses. The humans exchanged glances. The Kira Nebula was famous. It was called the Black Maze by human pilots. Many ships have been lost there over the years. You want us to fly through the nebula? Hana asked. I want you to try, Roken said. The Velith have done it many times. Our infrared vision allows us to see heat sources, even in total darkness. We can find our way easily. He smiled, showing teeth that were slightly too sharp. But humans? You cannot see heat. You cannot see in the dark. You will have to use your tools. He said the word tools like it was a joke. Dr. Wu spoke up. Ambassador, the Kira Nebula is dangerous for any species. Perhaps there is another way to demonstrate human capability. Are you afraid, Doctor? Roken asked. I am cautious, Dr. Wu replied. There is a difference. Roken laughed, and the other Velith joined him. Caution is another word for weakness. The Velith are not cautious. We are bold. We take what we want and go where we please. He stood up, his robes flowing around him. The challenge is set. In 2 days, 1 human ship and 1 Velith ship will enter the Kira Nebula. The first to reach the other side wins. If the humans win, we will offer fair trade terms. If the Velith win, he paused, enjoying the moment. Then Earth will accept whatever terms we give. Those are not fair stakes, Commander Tay said. Life is not fair, Commander. Ask your eyes. Hana stood up. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice was steady. We accept the challenge. Everyone turned to look at her. Commander Tay's eyes went wide. Dr. Wu shook his head slightly. But Hana did not look away from Roken. We accept, she said again. I will pilot the human ship myself. Roken studied her for a long moment. His orange eyes seemed to look right through her. Then he nodded slowly. Very well, Lieutenant Hana. I look forward to watching you fail. After the Velith left the conference room, Commander Tay turned on Hana. What were you thinking? The Kira Nebula is a death trap. Our best pilots have barely survived it. I know, Hana said calmly. Then why did you accept? We could have negotiated. We could have asked for a different challenge. Hana shook her head. No, we could not. You saw how Roken looked at us. He has already decided that humans are inferior. If we had refused, he would have seen it as proof. He would have taken our hesitation back to his empire and told everyone that humans were cowards, weak, afraid of the dark. Commander Tay was silent. He knew she was right. Doctor Wu stepped forward. There is another reason, he said quietly. Is there not, Lieutenant? Hana looked at the old scientist. She remembered their conversation from the night before. 10 million colors. A gray world. Yes, she said. There is another reason. Over the next 2 days, Hana prepared for the challenge. She studied every report about the Kira Nebula that she could find. She talked to pilots who had been through it and survived. She learned everything she could about its dangers. The hidden asteroids, the sudden gravity wells, the clouds of dust that could blind any sensor. But she also spent time with Dr. Wu in his laboratory. The old scientist had a plan. The Velith see heat, he explained, pointing at a diagram on his screen. That is how they navigate. They look for warm objects in the cold of space. Ship engines, volcanic asteroids, solar radiation reflected from dust clouds. But humans cannot see heat, Hannah said. No, but we can see something else. Dr. Wu pulled up another image. It was a picture of the stars, but not like any picture Hannah had seen before. Instead of white points of light, the stars were all different colors. Red, orange, yellow, white, blue. This is a color map of the Kira Nebula region, Dr. Wu said. Our telescopes took it years ago. Each star has its own color, based on its temperature and composition. A red star is cool. A blue star is hot. A yellow star, like our sun, is in between. Hannah leaned closer. The Velith cannot see these colors. Exactly. To them, all stars look the same. Just gray points of light with different amounts of heat. Dr. Wu smiled. But to you, Hannah, each star is unique. Each one has its own signature, its own identity. You can use them as landmarks. Like a map, Hannah said, understanding growing in her eyes. Better than a map. The colors never change. The patterns are always there. While the Velith are searching for heat sources, you will be navigating by starlight. Hannah studied the color map for hours. She memorized the positions of key stars. She learned to recognize their colors instantly. Red giant near the entrance. Blue dwarf cluster in the middle. Yellow binary pair at the exit. Each one was a signpost, guiding her through the darkness. The night before the challenge, Hannah stood at the observation window again. She looked out at the stars, and for the first time, she really saw them. Not just as points of light, but as a rainbow of colors stretching across the sky. Red and orange and yellow and white and blue. Each one telling a story. Commander Tay found her there. He stood beside her in silence for a moment. Are you ready? He asked. I think so, Hannah said. The Velith are confident. Roken has been telling everyone that you will not last 10 minutes in the nebula. Hannah smiled. Let him think that. Tay looked at her. You know something, do you not? I know that the Velith are not as superior as they believe. Hannah turned to face him. The Grayarayans. They see heat. We see color. And in that nebula, color is going to be worth more than all the infrared vision in the galaxy. The next morning, 2 ships launched from the orbital station. One was Velith, sleek and dark, shaped like a blade. The other was human, smaller and rounder, painted in the silver and blue of Earth's fleet. Ambassador Roken's voice came over the communication channel. Good luck, Lieutenant Hannah. You will need it. Hannah gripped her controls and watched the stars ahead. They were beautiful. They were colorful. They were hers. Save your luck, Ambassador, she replied. I have something better. Both ships flew toward the wall of darkness that was the Kira Nebula. The race had begun.